touch my hand, it all goes away. The things I planned, the things I would say, now I keep rambling on. I sound so cliche. What I am trying to do is say I love you. Ooh, 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 and all the things that you do. Ooh, ooh, sounds like a fool, 'cause when you touch my hair, the words goes away. What I am trying to do is say I love you. You don't know how I shiver inside. Doesn't show, but my nerves are inside out. It's because you're not worth less than perfection. Ooh, thought it was in my hands, now I'm all confused. Turning gold into sand, don't know what you do to me. All I know is you can take my breath away. Yeah, 'cause when you touch my hand, it all goes away. The things I planned, the things I would say, now I keep rambling on. I sound so cliche. What I am trying to do is say I love you. Ooh, 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 and all the things that you do. Ooh, ooh, sounds like a fool, 'cause when you touch my hand, the words goes away. What I am trying to do is let you know that when you touch my hand, it all just goes away. The things I plan to say, oh baby, what I am trying to do is let you know that when you touch my hand, it all goes away.
Good evening, everybody. Words are not easy this evening. I don't know what it is. Good evening, everyone. And if you happen to be in the US, happy Memorial Day. I know today was a holiday in the United States, and last week it was in Canada. It was Victoria Day. So for those of you in the US, so hopefully you took some time off. And in Canada, I know for you it was last weekend. And Tammy and I are grateful that you're here this evening. One of the main reasons for that, let me just go back to my slides here. One of the main reasons for this is what is the health? What is your mindset health at the moment? And let's face it, we're facing a lot of challenges in every aspect of our lives. And I came across an ebook that as I was reading, as I mentioned on the message that I left on Facebook Messenger. I don't know if I left one on Telegram, but as I was reading some of the things that it educates you on how to reset your mind to be able to deal with circumstances to help you live the life that you want to live opposed to the life that you have to live. And I felt like a mirror as I was reading this, and a lot of the things that they were documenting in that ebook, I felt we were applying. Tammy and I are applying, and I say, okay, we really need to talk about this because I know that there are challenges. We're not blind to those, but life is interesting, right? It's cyclical. There's highs and there's lows. There's highs and there's lows. And when things goes down, it's a consolidation. This is when you start rethinking, re-strategizing how I'm gonna face this new challenge, which often this challenge comes in as learning curve for you to be able to evolve as we keep moving in time. And this segment we're going to be sharing here this evening, it is not by a long shot the complete documented ebook. And the folks, the ebook is really, really easy to read. It is a short ebook. I highly recommend. If you want it, those of you that are here, I would like you to send me a message on Facebook Messenger, or WhatsApp or Telegram, whatever works for you, even texting or email, and I will reply to you with that ebook. And I highly recommend that you take the time to read it because it's really going to give you some good insight. And it's not something that you haven't heard of, but it's done in a sequence that I feel is very, very helpful. And I'm going to cover 8 points out of the 9 points that they cover there. At the end, they talk about meditation. And it's something that obviously is very important, but for the purpose of this training, of the sake of time, I felt that the first 8 module would actually be perfect. Tammy, what are your points on this topic?
Well, I think all through life, we're always making shifts. Nothing ever stands still. And it is an opportunity always to grow, to learn some new skills and to grow. And that's something that we've adopted. I think that over the last 28 years, we've adopted quite well. You know, when challenges come your way, you take a step back. And it's like exactly what you're reading right now. It's a mind reset. But you got to know what are the things that are holding you back. What are some of the things that you want to achieve, but you don't know why you're not able to achieve it, and you got to reset. And these are things we've been doing it for so long, Chris, that I guess it becomes natural for us, but it might not be natural for everybody. So it's important. This training is very important, very, very important.
And understand that this training is not just for Max. This training is for any endeavors. It doesn't matter what you do as a teacher, as a mom, as a husband, as a wife, as a business owner. It doesn't matter. These are constant. These are principles. And the very first one that I think, oh, first of all, I want to recognize those of you on YouTube Live. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you. And feel free to put your comment there. I am paying attention. And also, folks, if you like what you hear on Facebook, as you know, we instead of recording this, I broadcast it right into YouTube Live. Feel free to like it. I'm not saying that you have to, but if you feel that the content is helpful, when you like it, the algorithm of YouTube will just show it to more people. And I really think that this training can really help. There's really three limiting beliefs that can hold you back from really capitalizing on your dreams and what you really want to achieve. And there's so many more. It's just that the three that was referenced in that ebook that I felt was actually very interesting because I can relate to those. And the first one is the person who won't leave their current job, right? And that's because they think that they can't get anything better. I remember if I go back before I went full-time in network marketing, I worked hard to become a software engineer, and I was working for Corel System. And once I've done that, I was working for Computing Device of Canada, which eventually they merged with a big company from the UK. Long story short, I was in the IT world, and I always loved it, but I felt that this job was like a prison. You know, it's like I was sitting in that little cubicle, and I don't know what it is. I wasn't happy. And I remember people around me say, "Chris, you don't look happy. You have everything, but you don't look happy." And honestly, that's the reason why I made a decision. Is I started realizing that I'm so much better than that. And my limited belief at the beginning is I don't know if I can get anything better. I worked hard to get here, and I don't think I can get anything better. I'm afraid to walk away from that. It's a level of security. And that's one limiting belief in thinking that you can't get anything better because you think that that's the best you can get. You know, I'll go to the first three, Tammy, then you can comment on them. Number two is, you know, often, and I can relate to that too. Tammy actually made a comment this weekend. It says, you don't seem to like to go to parties and to
I'm the
you know,
social butterfly. Yeah.
I know I can be a bit boring. I tend to be an introvert, but I'm an introvert who has trained myself to be an extrovert. I remember when Eric Worre was talking about this again, I can really relate to that because I like to be by myself. And it's one of the reasons why I became a software engineer, and I was sitting in my cubicle and I was coding all day long, and that's all I did. I was happy, kind of happy at the beginning when I started until I realized it was a trap. But the point here is for me to organize a party, and even today, organize an event, I have a hard time with that because in my mind, people are not going to show up, right? They're not interested in listening to me. Even me, even doing trainings, you know, people are not, they're not interested in this. And the reality is that it's a false belief, but it's a belief that I had to train myself in handling, right? In thinking that I really have nothing to contribute. I remember thinking that way. It's interesting as I'm sharing this now, and I was preparing the training. It's interesting, but these limiting beliefs, they used to be part of me. Now it's been so far long. It's like funny for me to even think that way. But once upon a time, it's exactly what it was, right? And the fact is, even the, because and again, it's nothing about the French, but my French at the beginning, speaking in English, I would stutter a little bit. So I was a little nervous to go and speak publicly because I may stutter, and so all these limiting beliefs prevented me to become the person I am today. And if I chose to listen to these old limiting belief folks, I'd still probably looking for a job or begging for a job, whatever the situation may be. So that's number 2, right? Number 3 is getting stuck in a type of thinking. For example, let me just read what they wrote here in the book, because I thought it was very appropriate. You might have the reputation of being the class clown. It's really interesting, but I was a bit of the clown, and Tammy, we can relate to that, right? I was a bit of a clown in the class. I made people laugh, and I had this expectation, right? And I created this limiting belief that I'm the clown, right? Another one is you may not want to improve your diet because you love being known as the person who eats everything. I know that may sound really silly, but these are the thinking limiting belief. You might not approach a prospect because you think that maybe you're too shy. And you're too shy because you don't think that person will be interested, or maybe you think that they're not going to want to be your friends anymore, or they're not going to want to invite you into their homes anymore. These are all the limiting beliefs that prevent you to become the person that you can be. So these are some of the limiting beliefs. And my recommendation here is, as you are, if you want to take this seriously, and if you want to read the book, they will expand on the ebook, they will expand on that. But this is a very important aspect, and start doing an inventory of what your limiting beliefs are. People spend thousands and thousands of dollars to improve, to become a new person, whatever that may be. And at the end of the day, that's exactly what it is that you're going to do. They're going to ask you, well, what are your limiting beliefs? What are the things that prevent you to be or to do what you really want to do? Well, what are your thoughts, Tammy?
Yeah, it's crippling limiting beliefs. And we all have them in different areas of our lives. And I think the key thing is to pinpoint them. First of all, you have to realize that you have some, and take time. Always take personal time to reevaluate yourself. This is constantly things that Chris and I have been doing for so many years. Those of you who know us, you've watched us evolve and grow over the years because we take the time to do that. And we are open for change. We're open to evolve. We're open to become better. And so sit back. You need to evaluate this stuff. I mean, what the pandemic did in the last, 4 years, it literally shook up the world. Things have changed. It's not going back to the way it used to be. And so there's a lot of limiting beliefs that may have crept back into your life through this process. I don't know, but I know that some things have for us, because we're not traveling anymore. We're not out there being with people, which is something that I absolutely love, is that human connection. I absolutely love it. I adjusted to the online world, but I love the interactive connection. So you got to sit back and realize, what are the things that are stopping you from being the best you can be, and what can you do in the process of adjusting? What can you do? What can you learn? What can you grow from? Take the time to do this, you guys. If you don't take the time to do this and write this down, this will be another one of those trainings that is just going to go, you're going to be present in the moment and it's gone tomorrow. And that's one thing that I've always done, is if I'm going to learn something, I need to start applying it now, because if I don't apply it, I know myself. And I know you know yourselves very well too, that most likely the notes are going to get stuck in the drawer. and there's no actions being taken. And if you don't take the actions, you're not going to get the results that you're looking for in transformation.
I agree, Tammy. Moving on to the next point is how to make your own luck. And that's by changing your thoughts. And folks, I'm telling you, I am my worst enemy when it comes to my thoughts. And I'm sure we can all relate to that, right? It all begins with changing your self-perception and your attitude towards yourself, towards what you think you're capable of. And the very first step that you're taking here is you're here this evening. And folks, don't be numb to the fact that you've been hearing Tammy and I repeating these things for years, or maybe you've shared this in a different context. What we're sharing with you here is extremely important. And the reason why I'm telling you this is Tammy and I, as you know, have spent a lot of resources financially to listen to different mentors, including Eric Worre and many others. And it all comes down to exactly what we're talking about here. Every single one of them at one point will funnel to exactly what we're telling you right now. Starting with your limiting belief, list your limiting belief, and then you work on that. But how do you create your own luck? And I know that luck it's not something that's within your control. But I think you can create an environment that will be a lot closer to what you want, opposed to what you don't want. And I know that many folks don't believe in that, and that's totally okay. But the law of attraction is something that's extremely, really important. And what I mean by the law of attraction, I don't mean hocus pocus. I'm talking about what you think about expands. And I know you've seen some movies, videos about this what do you call that? This quantum energy, where every time you think of something, you project an energy throughout the universe. And it's really interesting because I've been testing that for years. And I'm telling you that what you think about will expand. So if you happen to be going to bed and you worry about something, well, you need to catch this. And we'll come back to that on the other slides because it goes into more details. But you need to catch this. And you need to contradict this thought by rethinking a phrase that will contradict that negative thought into a positive thought. So the fact here is I often wake up in the morning and I have these fears. We all do. And the moment this occurs, right away, I start working on that. And today, it's a lot easier than it was a few years ago. It's really interesting. And it just happened that I get people that wants to connect with me, that are interested to work with me, that wants more information about what I'm doing. I get just just today, I got 3 friends requests. Now, I don't accept them all because I know a lot of them are poaching. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that I feel that I'm being attractive. I'm attracting people towards what it is that we do. And from there, in that discussion, that's when we determine what direction I'm going to take with them. But the law of attraction is something that's really, really important. And if you've never seen the movie The Secret, I recommend it. The very first time I saw that, I forgot what, 2006. 2006 is the very first time I saw the trailer. And I remember I paid, I forgot how much it was. And I bought the 90-minute version. But I know now you can watch it on Netflix. It's everywhere. And it's really interesting because it explains the mechanics, if you want, the science behind the law of attraction. And if you're a person that's more spiritual in the Bible, you will also find it in there. It's written different, but it's there. It's really interesting. What you think about expands. Go ahead, Tammy.
Yeah. And there's a process to all of this. It's not just about, writing down words and wishing and hoping things are going to happen, like sticking a bunch of pictures on a board. That's all great because it gets that visual it gets your expression out there. But if you're not emotionally connected to it, if you don't believe that it's possible, then all of that is done for nothing. There's a process to all of this. You have to understand that if you really, really want something in life, you have to believe that it's happening already. And you need to be constantly focused on that. There's going to be lots of things that will come your way and test the heck out of you. I know, because it happens to me all the time. You just got to recognize that and push that aside and stay focused on all that you desire, whatever it is. And if you focus on that, all the things that are meant to come to you will come to you. So for example, if your thing right now might be, I don't know, let's say you're not attracting prospects that are open to the business. Let's just keep it business related. Put out the energy that it's so easy to connect with amazing people who are open for opportunities. It's so easy. And I'm doing it so easily right now. People contact me consistently. And when you tell yourself these things, in the back of your head, there's that limiting belief thing. Yeah, right. As if this ever going to happen. It's never happened to me before. So why would it happen to me now? So you've got that little thing going on in the mind that you have to shut up, and you have to focus on what it is that you are attracting into your space. And the moment you do that, you'll notice for a while, maybe something might not happen, but I'm telling you, when you get really good at the attraction part, and when you understand the process, don't be surprised how fast things happen when you get good at it, but you have to practice it. It could be the simplest little thing like parking. How many times have you driven in a parking lot in a mall and in your mind going, oh, it's Saturday, there's probably going to be no parking. Oh, it's a holiday weekend, everybody's shopping, there's probably going to be no parking. Oh, it's downtown, everybody's downtown Friday night, there's no parking. Or you show up and you just know the perfect spot is going to be there. It's going to be there. You can imagine it. You can see it. I'm telling you, change the energy towards the things that you desire in life. And it's amazing the things that you start to attract. And when you start doing it with the small things, you can do the same thing with the big things, believe it or not.
Yeah. This is the point. Start with the small things, like, receiving a coffee, or like Tammy talk about the parking. It's really impressive how, and when it happens, you kind of, well, okay, I was just lucky. That's the whole point. How do you make your own luck? It's by changing your thoughts. And that's the message that we want to deliver with this. The other one that's very important is what would make your life better, right? And this is very important. Focus on, this is self-reflection. So what are the areas in your life that you want to enhance? And very important, we talk about dreaming big, setting goals, taking action. That's all part of how you make things better. But beginning, very important, is know what to change. What is it that you want to change? I know that most of you here would love to be able to increase your income. Maybe the income is not something that's a concern of yours. Maybe it's something else. Whatever that is, start focusing on what are the changes that you want to envision a better future. This is very, very important. And this is why we've done many of these trainings, and we will keep talking about this, and we'll rotate over this again, is you need to set your goals. Start with your dreams. What matters to you? And to get to those dreams, it breaks down into these different goals. And from these goals, you break them down into different tasks. And from these tasks, what are the steps? These are the things that I know Tammy and many of you probably have done. But how do you make things better is by identifying what is it you want to change. What is it that's bothering you? Identify these things. And one thing that you can do is you can actually like I said, make a list of all the things that bothers you. Let's focus on that right now. Let's get this out of the table and write a list. Write it all the things that bothers you. This is personal to you. Okay. And then we'll talk about the letting go aspect of things, but identify what is it that you want to change. And by identifying this, then you can start working towards what you want, opposed to try to always maintaining what you don't want out of habit or out of guilt or out of fear, thinking you can't get anything better. Back to you, Tammy.
It's always about reflection, isn't it? I think we all need this reminder from time to time, because you got to sit down and take the time to do this stuff. Chris and I were talking about, when we leave for Toronto, as all of you know, on Friday, and we're already talking about the things that we're going to do when we get back in Florida. We're already making plans for when we arrive here. Some of the things that we weren't able to do this year because we had to buckle down and work harder than ever. I don't think we've ever worked this hard, Chris, have we? It's been a really, really busy 5 months when we were here. It went so fast. We didn't get out and do a whole lot of stuff. So what do? We started our plan. So when we come back here, we know exactly what we want to do and what we want to do to celebrate. So these are the things you want to take the time to do that. If you don't put stuff out there that you desire in life, then you're never going to get it, because you're going to be so busy that all these things won't even transpire. It won't. You got to write it down, and you got to set dates to it, and you got to work towards it. And that's how you attract amazing things into your life, whatever it is. If it's getting to a rank, if it's getting to an income goal, if it's getting to a personal goal, learning a skill goal, a fitness goal. I mean, anybody who's following us online, we've been training hard this time around in Florida. And last year, I remember we came back to Toronto, and I told Chris today, I am not doing the same thing I did when I came back to Toronto. I just got into this stupid comfort zone, which is not me when it comes to fitness. And then I had to work super hard when I got back here, just to get back to what I'm so used to, what was normal before. And so, you got to sit back and reflect, and you got to make decisions. When I get back in Toronto, I know exactly what I'm doing to get rid of that extra belly fat, to, all the things that I want to do, getting back to Toronto, and whether it's personal or business. So you got to be focused. We're booking shows. We're doing things that's going to move the needle.
I agree. So the next step from that, and remember, folks, as I stated at the beginning of this call, we only have like 45 minutes to an hour with us together, so we can't go into an explicit details in every aspect. So I do recommend that you read this ebook, and I'm doing this purposely for you to request it. I don't want to just give that to you and you're never going to open it, right? So if you requested it, I will gladly send that over to you immediately. In whatever form you want, I'll reply it. But letting go, it's addressing the important aspect that I was mentioning earlier. What are things that do you want to change? What are things that creates a negative emotion? And this is very difficult to do, because sometimes it's hard to let go because we're emotionally compromised by thinking of letting it go, and it's not an easy thing. And there's different ways of letting go, right? So you have to, again, we're not you. You have to decide what are those things that you have to let go. But these are the things that are important to understand. If you want to have success in certain area, if I may focus on this business aspect of things, there might be some things that you're just not letting go about how you go about doing things that are preventing you from having the success that you really could have. And you have to let go of those things. But I'm not you. You have to identify what are those things. You have to identify them. And as you start letting go, the emotion, the relief that you're going to get is going to give you that sense of satisfaction. It's like this weight that you carry every single day, this emotional weight with so many things that you carry. And it might be it may not be easy to let go because there's so many compromises or so many situations that be affected by it. But whatever that is, you have to make that decision. Tammy and I have, and we have made some decisions. We have taken some directions that are giving us a sense of inspiration, a sense of direction. And we don't have to let go of everything. There's some things that we're just letting go, but there's some things that we're hanging on to because we truly believe in it. We love it. We enjoy it. So these are things that I think are important to identify. But before you can let go, you need to understand what is that you want to change. What are the changes that you need to have? And this is not something you can think about 5 minutes. You have to process this. You have to make that list. You have to identify with these things. And you may realize some things that you never even realized that are bothering you because it's such a habit for you to constantly apply them on a daily basis. Back to you, Tammy.
And some advice I'm thinking, don't do any letting go when you're on an emotional roller coaster day. Some of those days you just got to walk away, go walk outside, connect to nature. It could be a phone call, it could be anything, right? So you have to be smart about things like this because sometimes you might not make the best decisions, right? When you're emotionally compromised. So yeah, but letting go it's gotta be the hardest thing, especially habits. When you're so comfortable in your habits. I know some people are very comfortable in sitting in front of the TV, and that's a hard habit to break, right? For a lot of people. So there's certain things that prevent people from being the best they can be. So find what those things are that are holding them back, and don't point fingers. This is a really important message too, is don't point fingers, because at the end of the day, you made these decisions, so it's sitting back, reflecting, what really makes you happy, what are the things that make you the most happy, and what do you love to do in business and in your hobbies, in your fitness, in your relationships. I mean, yeah, we could go on and on and on about all of this stuff.
I agree. And one thing that could be also useful is now be mindful about what I'm about to say. You may want to write a letter. Maybe that person will never get that letter. You may want to toss it, right? I don't know. I'm not in your life. I'm not in your situation, but it's to write a letter as if you intend to send it. It's really interesting, the relief that you will have by writing this letter. It's like you're dumping all of this on a piece of paper externally. It's like a dump, right? Another thing that you can do in the ebook, there's an empty chair. It's like a white empty chair right there. And you sit in front of it. Imagine it could be a person, it could, whatever the situation may be. And you're talking to this person, right? It could be your dog. I mean, right? But what's interesting here is the emotion, right? It still works. So these are just, again, some useful tips that could work for you. And I thought that was actually an interesting thing. And I know I've read this before, and I've been told these things before, right? You can write them down, and you can toss the letter, make sure you toss it, burn it, whatever, so you don't hurt the person that might be in question. Okay. So again, it's just
interesting you're saying that, Chris, because I took a course years ago.
Oh, you wrote the letter?
No, it wasn't a letter.
You.
No, I took a course, and his name is Bijan.
Bijan, yeah.
Who've known us for years know that I've talked about him. And the course was called Clearing to Manifest. And Chris, you were gone somewhere. And so I went to the course. We even did some meditation experiences.
I think, Tammy, I went to Quebec City.
I forget, but it was an out of body experience. But this guy was so phenomenal. But one of the things that he had us do is to write things down that we needed to let go. So everybody, we did the exercise, we were letting it go. And then we all had to line up. It was crazy, all the crying that happened I get emotional just thinking about it right now. All the things that we needed to let go to get to that next level in life. And as I got closer to the shredder, everybody had to shred it to let it go. I got goosebumps just talking about it. And it was the most amazing exercise I've ever done in my life. If you've got a shredder at home, do this exercise because it's hard to let go of these things.
You know what's interesting, Tammy, that you bring up? I was mentioning earlier that we went to see many gurus and trainers and everything else, and at the end of the day, it all funnels to the same thing. Here's an example. I got this from an ebook. You got it from Bijan, remember, a very powerful speaker. I think he was Iranian,
Yes.
and a powerful guy. I wonder where he is today. But again, it's just an example.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an example of people spend so much money and so much time in trying to resolve things, and it's not all that expensive. You just need to be guided in a direction to help you identify these things, and that's what we're talking about. Now, this slide that you're seeing here is mindfulness. Sorry, is implicit memory and explicit memory. And at first, I didn't know what this meant. And I asked ChatGPT to define what that is and Google search and so forth. And implicit memory, these are things that happen to you that you don't remember as happened to you, but it is impacting your behavior today. But there are things that were there that are buried in your subconscious. That's implicit memory. And these are some of the things that can affect your behavior and the contribution that you're bringing to the world. Very interesting. Upbringing and things that happens when we were children, right? I know there can be some dark things and stuff. My point in saying is implicit memory often will impact your behavior, but you don't remember that it happened to you, but it is still embedded in your behavior. In explicit memory, the difference is these are things that you can actively recall happening, right? Things that you're aware of, that you're knowledgeable of, right? This is a memory that you can access consciously. That's the difference between implicit memory and explicit memory. And the reason why you may behave in certain ways when you try to build your business and your relationship and starting your business, whatever this may be, relationship with your children, your significant other, all of these. And often, again, people will spend an enormous amount of resources. And I know there's doctors that are, I don't want to use the word shrink, but it's the only name that I have in my head. What's the proper name? Sorry, Tammy?
Psychiatrist, psychologist.
Psychiatrist. Thank you. I know why the shrink was just the only. So they make a fortune doing this. And what they do is they identify exactly what we just talked about. What is it that you don't like? Let's talk about that. And they get you to express it, identify them, and then you start recalling some of those things. Now, I know we're going a little deep here, but the point I'm trying to tell you is these are all of the things that over the years, Tammy and I have done through different sessions over the years. And it will impact your results. Some of you may want a better life, but the reason why things are always get in the way of that better life could be embedded in this implicit memory. And that's the reason why I'm bringing this up. So again, it's very important to be conscious of those. And again, the more you process the things that you don't like, the things that you don't want, even though some of those memories might be painful, it might be important for you to pull them out, identify them, so you can handle them properly and deal in different directions that you're looking for within your lifestyle, the way you want to be, opposed to the way you are now. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you at the moment. I'm just using some examples as to how to identify some of those things. And it's quite deep. And the ebook will go into more details about it. It's really, it's very interesting. Tammy, was there anything else you want to add to this?
Yeah, you're actually going to love the ebook. There's some really good content in there, for even posting to bring value and attraction to you. And of course, if you follow through with the ebook and follow through with some of the stuff that we mentioned to try, And you're going to see, you're going to go to another level. And that's what it's always about, right? It's always to get to that next level, or get unstuck, or reset, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, to have a better life.
And you know what's interesting is, and I know I talked about it in some past calls, but if you Google videos that have to do with affirmations, and you will find, I think I talked about it several weeks back, and one of them has something like 7 million views. And it's been created about 7, 8 years ago, or 10 years, a long time ago. And this guy, you know, there's an application you can see, and I mean, he's earning something like $10,000 to $12,000 a month with something that was done 10 years ago. Talk about passive income. My point in saying that, why am I saying this? People are looking for that reinforcement, and affirmation is so important to cultivate your mind, to focus on what you want opposed to what you don't want. So focusing on this slide is mindfulness and cognitive reconstruction, or reconstructing, or restructuring. Sorry, I guess my word, it's not what I was reading is not what I wanted to say. So the fact here is to reconstruct your mind is, first of all, what's very important is to be in the present, to be in the moment, and stop always focusing on everything else opposed to what's actually happening now. And one thing that's very important to identify these, as I mentioned earlier, I think it was slide number 2, is to replace negative thoughts with positive ones. Be conscious of what you think about. When you complain about not enough money, when you complain about issues, which we know there's plenty go around, and that's all you do, and there's a reason, and I'm not saying that you not to do it, because at the end of the day, to resolve the problem, we need to identify the problem, and we need to address the problem. Listen, folks, that's important. I'm not saying not to do this. What I'm saying is, once this is done, don't dwell in it. Let it go. And start replacing these with positive thoughts. This is really important. That's one of the reasons why, Tammy will agree with me, every time I get in a car, I have my phone, and I have my Spotify, and I have my relaxing music. That's what I do. My car, doesn't matter what car it is, it's my sanctuary. And this music just calms me. And they're wonderful sound and vibrations that just, it's very soothing. And that's something that I do. So I'm constantly surrounding myself with an environment which I create. I like to call it an ecosystem. I use this word often, right? To kind of to be around me to satisfy my needs, what I need. So rather than thinking of what's happening, and I know in Canada there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm cut every day because I need to understand what's happening and how to deal with this, because I have a lot of things that are involved. And I say, okay, how is that going to affect my stuff, my space, my investment, all of these things? But I don't get stuck there. After that, I need to brush off. And I need to purge that stuff. Just an example of purging. You know, in Florida, we've been accumulating clothes from every country, from everywhere we've been. And you have no idea. It's as simple as that. Now I go to my closet. I have this sense of serenity and peace because I got rid of what I don't need. And I find out that I have like 4 or 5 pair of jeans because I keep going back to Toronto and I bring him back in Florida. And I forgot what I know. I may seem out of context here, but I'm not, right? The fact here is I cleanse my environment, where now I get into my closet and I feel, I wouldn't say excited, it's a bit strong word, but I feel content. I feel comfortable. I know exactly what's going on, and I got rid of the weight. I let go of the things. And I know Tammy and I often have discussions on that, letting go of clothes that we don't need. Well, that applies with the things that emotionally that keeps you compromised. right? Focus on the positive things. Let go of the things that don't serve you well. Positive
See
affirmation.
where I'm when when we're talking about the clothes, I hold on to things that I'm determined to get back into. You guys have your favorite stuff, right? Instead of saying, "Oh,
I'm gonna lose
it's
weight. I'm
never
gonna
gonna
lose weight.
fit me again," and just throw it away and just accept that that's the way it is, and I'm 60, going to be 61 in a few weeks, and I'm just going to accept it. No, I'm not accepting it because I have a goal and I have so I have things that I'm going to hold on to some things for that reason. So don't get rid of everything if it's a goal for you to get back into something. Because how many times we just let go and just give in? We say, "Oh, I'm never going to get into it again." No, you can get into anything. You can shift and change things so quickly in your life by a decision. We keep talking about that. We talk about it in business. We talk about it in life. The moment you make a decision and you act on that decision, then you're moving forward in your desire.
Totally
So
agree.
decide
Sorry, go
what
ahead.
you want, act on what you want. Don't just talk about it. Talk is cheap. It's so cheap. Act on what you desire and you will start moving towards it. You're going to have lots of self-talk. You're going to see a bunch of bull crap on social media, which I highly recommend to ignore a lot of it and just stay really focused on where you're at and what your true desires are in growing.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now let's see here. Okay. So the next point that we want to cover here as we come to an end is confidence and self-worth. Folks, low self-esteem is a problem that can end up affecting countless areas of your life. And this is something that's important. And low self-esteem often comes from upbringing, failures, things that has impacted your personal belief about you. And this is one of the biggest limiting beliefs of them all, right? Is to have a low self-esteem. And I'm telling you, folks, I had that. One is I grew up always being shorter than most other guys. And when you're young, you're naive. You don't know any better. And everybody's tall and everything else. I was always a short guy. And I remember that I used to get in trouble often because I had a bit of a mouth on and I would speak my mind, and that didn't always serve me well. But now I think about it, it has served me well because I stood up to this situation that I was facing. And I ended up leading in life opposed to being led. But keep in mind that before you lead, you have to, you have to follow. And in fact, I always believe the greatest leaders are the greatest followers. So I'm not saying that there's an ego here, because if I see someone that has skills and assets and some things that I can learn from, I will submit to learn from that. But my point in saying here is I had all the reasons to have low self-esteem. Here's what I did. And I talked about this before, where I was bullied at one point in some of the class with this big guy. And interesting is, I don't know if it was a month after, a year after, whatever, I started doing karate. I became a black belt, a second degree, third degree. Then I had my own classes. Then I have about 2,000 students. And I've done that for years of my life. But again, it's interesting, but I have made a decision to counteract what was making me feel of this low self-esteem. I was looking for ways to overcome that at a very young age without really realizing this is what I was doing. So the fact here is I'm sharing with you some of we're kind of being transparent so you understand that a lot of the wonderful things that we are facing today, and I know many of you have wonderful things, you have many success in your lives. We don't know every aspect of your life, of course, but if you're not happy with certain things, what's really important is to identify what are the things, again, I keep repeating this, that you don't like, that you don't want, identify them and start working on counteracting that to become the person that you're meant to be. Really, really, really important. So, yeah, go ahead, Tammy.
No, we're good. I mean, it's been what, 50 minutes the session?
Yes.
So the ebook is going to give you lots of great content and learnings. And some of the stuff here today, you might even have to go back and listen to it again and stop and, you know, put it on pause and do the exercise. When we start writing things down and we make those decisions to better ourselves, and we take the time to do that and we move forward, you're going to see lots of great things are going to happen in your life. And
You know, the more you focus,
you're going to have setbacks. You're human beings, right?
yeah, and the
Everybody
more you
has
focus,
setbacks, but I
sorry,
recognize it. Yeah.
when you pause, I think you're done. I apologize, Tammy. See, the more you focus and engage with what you're doing in a positive way, the more your DLPC switches off. What does that mean? I was like, what does that? I started researching this. This stands for the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. Basically, what it is, this is the part of the brain that is the executive function, such as decision making, problem solving, self-control. So the fact is, the more you focus on those things, the more you train your mind, and the part of your mind that makes the decision to do the things that will impact your life. Another one that's really important, Tammy talked about it earlier, is working out. Working out is a very important aspect of boosting your self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
If nothing else, I'm telling you, and I know that maybe you may feel that it's not for you, you're too old, you're too this, you're too that. This is limiting beliefs. That's what we're trying to tell you. Now, you have to be careful, right? Some things that might be irreversible at this point, but I assure you that where there's a will, there's a way. It's limiting belief. So it's up to you if you want to believe those or not. And as we end over here, what's important is body language. And, you know, it's a critical thing, right? It's understanding the implicit memory, the things in your past that are affecting your behaviors today. I know we talked about often dress for success and all of these things. And I know in webinars, we don't wear suits very often anymore. I'm more like golf shirts now and everything else. But again, when you dress in a certain way, when you go do your hair in a certain way, or your nails, or whatever that may be, right? Some of you might be whitening your teeth, whatever that is. It gives you that personal self-confidence that may impact the person that you're meant to be. So very important is I would say that the posture that you use on the things that you say, the word that you use, all of these things are very, very important. And you'll find that as you start evolving, if you do take this seriously, I know JP has asked me for the ebook here, and I will send that over to you. Not a problem. And take the time to read. It's an easy read. I think you can do this in one evening for some of you. Some of you might be a day or two. I'm telling you, okay, it's a wonderful book. It's going to give you some guidelines, and it could really impact your life in so many ways. The last two slides I just want to cover, and I know you've seen this before, but it's really interesting because what's going to happen as you start working on those different aspects of your life by identifying what you don't want and replace them by the things that you want, you'll find that when you start looking at things differently, the things you look at will change. And the most, you know, I really like this example, and I know you probably all know the answers, but when you look at this for the first time, people try to figure out how that's going to be by trying to calculate the difference between the numbers to try and identify what's the number being underneath the car. And then the child can figure this out in a few minutes. And that's because the child has different perspective. And what he's going to do is just going to look at upside down. It's number 87. It's a different perspective on how we look at things. So that's the training that we want to cover here tonight. And again, if you are interested in this ebook, send me a private message and I will send it over to you. And if not, that's totally cool. I don't want you to feel obligated. I just think that it's a book, but I want to make sure that you're going to read it. And I think that it will really serve you well. So that's the end of our session this evening. Tammy, is there any last thought you want to share as well?
I'm
She is
just
so
saying
cute.
hi to Sophie's granddaughter. Hello.
What you doing?
That's so cute.
So Tammy, do you have any thoughts as we close this session?
I just reset. Honestly, we've all been through a lot and we keep talking about what we've been through because we all know exactly what it is. And the key is to make decisions, reset and move forward because we can't change what what's already happened 1 second ago, let alone, a day ago or a week or a year or whatever, right? We can only create our power in the now. Okay, so you have your power right now to make these decisions. And every single day, do this. Wake up like that, you guys. That's the best thing to do is wake up like that. Even if you have a nightmare or whatever, or you just wake up out of bed and things are just not going your way, or you just had that mindset right away that's not serving you. For example, working out. There's often a lot of days where Chris and I wake up and it's not like, woo, we get to work out, it's like, oh, it's leg day. And both of us hate leg day. And you just got to do it. And when you start getting into it, by the time you're done, you're just so empowered and you just feel good and you're just so glad you did it. Doesn't matter whether it's working out or whatever it is, you feel good when you finally do it. And you make those accomplishments. Yeah.
Totally agree. Okay, so we'll end this session on this note, folks. And again, if you do want to have this ebook, just email me personally, and I will send over to you as a reply. And I think it will serve you very well. So everybody, have yourself a great evening, and thank you so much for attending. Okay, bye everybody.